the cycle of the sun is of 365 days, point 24. I'm gonna put it 365.24. Let me see. Okay, there it is. Is a year really 365.24 days, or is it 365.25? All right, so the difference there is of almost nothing, right? That is not the point here. You see, if there is 365.24 days and we do not have leap years, etc. So as you can see, this is um, a reason for a lot of wondering and questioning regarding how to keep the time of the calendar, right? Because the sun lasts 365.24, completing its cycle. So Yahweh told us that the calendar would be 364. So if we have, right, let me put 300 like this. If we have that and Yahweh tells us that our calendar should be 364, then we have obviously 125 every year that is out of the count, right? So, since in the Gregorian calendar, the calendar is of 365 days, one more than what Yahweh told us that it should be, then what is left is just 25, right? Point 25. That is why if you multiply 0.25 by 4, you get 1. And that is why every 4 years they add a day, right? Every four, in the Gregorian calendar, every 4 years, one day is added to the month of February, right? So this is too small. But anyways, you guys know about that already, right? So every 4 days a year, a day is added. Every 4 years, a day is added. A leap year, also known as intercalary year, is calendar year that contains an additional day or in the cause of. Well, here's talking about also the leap year in the lunar calendar, because in Judaism, since they follow a lunar calendar, sometimes they have to add a whole month, an entire month. So depending on the lunar cycle, they have to add a month every 4 or 3 years, an entire month. So Yahweh tells us that the year is 364, but the world made it 365, and the Jews made it 355, sometimes 385, right? So it's very different than what Yahweh told us. Now, since in the true calendar, every year we have one day, point 25, not accounted for. Every 6 years, we have a whole week. So every 6 years, and well, let me see something else. Well, the difference is going to be like minute, but don't matter. So every 6 years, interestingly enough, 1.44, right? Like the 144,000. Every 6 years, we need to add a week, because if we don't do that, every year, the calendar is going to go back and back and back until instead of spring, which is the first season, we would have winter, right? After, for instance, after 30 years of not adjusting the calendar, then instead of spring, we would have winter. And Yahweh told us to celebrate Pesach during spring. So if we don't do that, we would end up celebrating it on winter. And then 30 years later, autumn. And then 30 years later, summer. And then 30 years later, it will go back. Right? But if we do the adjustment that needs to be done, which is, I believe, represented in the scriptures by in several ways, which I already read about them in the studies that I made in Peru, but that was in Spanish. And we can eventually do it here also if you want in English. Let me show real quick this right here just to finish this explanation, which I believe would be enough, hopefully. So here you are seeing stellarium, right? Hopefully. So you see here this circle on the left, north, then this circle on the south, that is, those are the two circles around which the sun goes during each of the 6 months. 6 months is on the left side, which is the north, 6 months on the south, which is the right. Remember, as we see in Hebrew, um, well, here's all upside down, so let me put it back. Well, oh, it doesn't matter this time. So you see this line right in the middle that says our angle. That would be like the line of the equator, or the line that divides equally the north from the south. Now, in the Gregorian calendar, they made it so that the equinox happens on the 20th of March, the 20th of the third month. Okay, so you see the sun right here. Let me put it right in the middle. So you see that the sun on the 20th is right in the middle of heaven. There is one line that goes and divides the north from the south, and there is another one, not the green one, another blue one that goes from left to right, right, and is making a cross. And during the equinox, it's right in the middle. So this is the middle of the firmament. It is the middle of the firmament. When the sun is there, there are 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness. Exactly. Hanok, in the book of Enoch, he said, Yahweh told us through Enoch that that is the last day of the year. So the day in which the sun is in the middle of the firmament and there are 12 hours and 12 hours of light and darkness, that is the last day of the calendar. All right? So that is important to understand. So let me go as close. Well, we can go like closer and closer, but just to show the movement. On the 19th, you see how it hasn't crossed. On the 20th is in the middle, and then on the 21st is already on the other side. This side being the south, this side being the north. The line dividing both. So here the year started. Here the year finishes. Right? Okay, so since the Gregorian calendar, and therefore this program was programmed with 365 days, there will be 365 days from March 20th, 2025 to March 20th, 2026, right? 365. But the calendar would have ended one day before because the calendar is 364. So the calendar would end there, right? And with this that I am explaining at the moment, that would mean that in theory, it would have to start there. But like I said, that is when the last day of the year starts. Now I will show it with the actual timing because I don't want to confuse anybody. So as we know, this year is a year in which we had the adjust we had to adjust the calendar. So that means that, and remember that it ended on, this is not the one, this is not either, but it ended on the 18th. Ended on the 18th, right, of March. This year, which started right on the 20th, and I can also explain why the 20th is the last day in which it can start, because even though, like I already explained, the date starts in the morning, in the book of Hanok, it says that the last day is when there are 12 hours of dark and 12 hours of light. So that means the last day um, ends with 12 hours of darkness that connect with the 12 hours of day of the next day. So in short, the 20th can is the last moment. The 20th of March is the last moment in which, or the I'm talking about last because the calendar goes back and back and back. But when we get to 20, that is the limit. It cannot pass that limit. So if the next year, as it happened here, because the 18th was the last, then the year would have started on the 19th. But since the 20th is the limit, then the year cannot start on the 19th. That's why that is the year in which we should add 7 days in order for the clock to readjust. And now, with that understood, hopefully it's understood, going back here, like I said, this last year ended on the 18th. And look where the sun was in relation to the center of the firmament. So if we had started on the 19th, we would still be on the other side. The sun would not be on the fourth door, the fourth gate. which is the one in which the year starts according to the book of Enoch. The fourth gate is until the sun has passed this part. So, since the 19 was a Wednesday, fourth day of the week, but it was still before the equinox, we would that's when we had to add a week. So that was the first day, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then on the 26th it began, right? So next year, the 25th, it would begin on a previous one. The 24th, I mean the 27th on a previous one. And there is a leap year, so there is one in which it jumps a couple. Um, so then it continues like that until once again we found ourselves in the same predicament. So another week must be added after the 6 years. All right. So that's why you see 6 years from the 25th to the 31st. And if everything were to start this year, it would be interesting because it started with an adjustment. So there would be like perfect timing for everything that needs to unfold, like possibility. So the day after that day, 12th day, 12th night, the following day will be 1st of Aviv. Normally, yeah. But like I mentioned, because of that difference in the cycle of the sun, it moves a little bit, but it cannot move past. Um, it cannot move past the 20th, right? When it goes back. So mainly the point is that it cannot start on the 19th of March. When it's going to start on 19th of March, that's when you have to add a week.